All right. Today, I'm going to talk about the top 3 worst parts of capitalism. So make sure, listen to the end and think of the worst thing about capitalism. And if I don't say it at the end, then leave a comment and tell me what I should have said. Hello, and welcome to the Info Hazard Podcast. I'm your host, Danny, and with me are my subservient vassal hosts, Phil and Sam. Welcome.
Subservient vassal.
Yeah, this is my segment, dude. I'm going to rule it with an iron fist. All right, so for the least bad thing that I'm going to talk about capitalism, I'm going to bring up the fact that it doesn't even give good products anymore, right? If you think about most of the things that you buy, they all kind of suck ass these days, right? It's not like the olden days.
I look at like new houses built today, and it's just like half of them seem like they're falling apart. Like the foundation's cracked before anyone's even moved in.
Yeah.
This is especially distressing because the thing you get from a capitalist society
Exactly.
is supposed to be all this variety in products, but it turns out it's actually cheaper to give you shit. So that's what we get.
Doritos are $7 a bag.
And that bag is half full of air.
Well, okay, so I do want to step in to defend chip manufacturers here. That is for a reason, which is that if you have the air, it helps cushion the chips and they don't get smashed up during transport.
And it's cheaper.
I mean, obviously that is part of it, but even if you're going to put twice as many chips, you still need to have enough air in the bag to make sure they don't all just appear as dust.
Insufficiently revolutionary thought, comrade. Do you seen a tortilla chip bag? You know they don't need that air.
They don't need
They're
all
just
of that
gouging
air.
you.
Yeah, but that's exactly it, Like, that's supposed to be the value prop of capitalism, right? It's like, sure, we're destroying the entire environment, and sure, people are getting enslaved and suffering greatly, but at least you can buy a nice speedboat for under $20,000, right? But it's not even true anymore.
I thought the promise of capitalism is it was just because like a king was so much less efficient that letting the market decide was the efficiency. And if the market decides that you'll pay more for a shitty product, they'll just charge you more for the worst product.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is just getting enshittified, to use a popular term from the current zeitgeist. They're charging you more, you're getting less out of it.
I think you gotta, I think like one of the things that like capitalism does is like private equity. You have like a company like Toys R Us, and private equity is like, we don't care about selling toys to kids. We're going to come in and destroy the company to get as much value. They buy a company for like $10 billion. Then the company pays back the private equity firm by borrowing $10 billion against the assets. And then the company goes bankrupt. The private equity firm makes some fees, but now we don't have Toys R Us. It's like,
it's a negative service. To the true believers, it shouldn't exist, basically. There shouldn't be a profit motive to destroy like these profitable companies and remove them from the system. But it is actually financially beneficial to...
It was. Not greatly, yeah. But it was.
But actually, profitable companies are the most, they're the most appealing targets for private equity, right? Because they have the most things that they can strip out at that point.
There's that famous book from the 1980s that's called The Barbarians at the Gates. It's a talk over about Marlboro and the cigarette company. The company is going to make 5% profit every year, and they're going to make that in perpetuity just off their industrial practices. And then they go to sell it. The firm comes in, there's a whole bidding war over it, and everybody involved loses money. The cigarettes get more expensive, the employees get paid less, the shareholders get kicked out, and they have to take a haircut on what they sold their stock for. And the company that bought it isn't actually making a profit. That like they don't really care about running it profitably, but they get off the total deal to buy it, they get like 10% management fee. And so this stable American company, this is their shot to go private, and it just gets absolutely decimated for like 10% of their net worth. They're still around, but it was the biggest corporate acquisition at that time. What does this serve the government? What does this serve the taxpayer? What does it serve the shareholder? It serves like 5 guys in New York.
It's just looting is what it is. It's a lot of deals and text and time, but basically it's just highway robbery. They're coming up. They had just like a piece of paper that says like, at the end of this, we'll get the company and we'll fire this many people. Like, they could save themselves a lot of time.
I mean, that said, fuck cigarette companies. So
it couldn't have happened to a worse company.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. So that's merely an illustrative example of.
Yeah, I don't know. Cigarettes are back, baby. We're bringing them back.
Their Zen pouches.
All right. Number 2, the second worst thing about capitalism is the intense amount of human and animal suffering that it creates. So there
The
are
worst thing about it is the human suffering. I would
second
say
worst
that's
thing.
probably true. That's it. And so wait.
No,
So
Phil,
the
it's only the
second worst thing about it
Yeah.
is human suffering.
I know.
We've
It's
got
only
a
the second
doozy
worst
for
thing.
number
There's
one.
worse, dude. There's worse.
Animals getting thrown in there too. I mean, yeah.
Factory farms, dude, are pretty fucked up. Pigs are really smart. And the fact that they're basically all just born into this horrible hell dimension where they're born into a tiny cage and they live their entire life in this tiny cage without ever touching the ground. Pigs are smart enough to play tic-tac-toe, and they're pretty clever and seem to have emotions and probably suffer a lot. And it's super fucked up. And I stopped eating pork, basically, because I think it's the most insane, fucked up shit imaginable, basically. If some aliens show up on Earth and they're as far beyond us as we are beyond pigs, we will have a moral leg to stand on if they want to factory farm us, dude.
Yeah, but also our individual actions of personal prohibitions, I don't think the aliens would take that into account.
No, exactly. If there's a pig who is like, I'm a vegetarian pig, we don't give a shit, and they're still factory farmed.
It's true. It is a great blind spot of mine in a moral landscape, but here I am on this podcast worrying about other issues, I suppose. I tend to weight the human suffering a little higher.
Yeah, well, so we're moving from least bad to most bad. So we started with the animal suffering as the sub-tab of the human and animal suffering. Now we can talk about the human suffering, dude. Capitalism creates an insane amount of human suffering because it's either not cost efficient to alleviate it, or it is in fact profitable to run it. Amazon makes so much money off of underpaying their workers and overworking them. It sucks for the workers, but Amazon is the biggest company in the world, or one of the biggest.
It is more cost efficient to burn through their entire staff, overwork them to the point where they can't work the job anymore, and then hire a new slate of people. This has a dual role of getting maximum value out of those employees and not retaining staff long enough where they would feel entitled to a pay raise.
Yeah. If nobody lasts a year, nobody gets a yearly bump.
Yeah, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. There is that inherent downward pressure to extract maximum suffering for maximum profit.
Well, they're not trying to make suffering. They just don't care at all. They would never pay money to make suffering happen. They're not Hitler diverting war resources to the Holocaust, right? That's not cost efficient.
It's not true, though. There are many oligarchs within the U.S. system of capitalism that are spending millions upon billions of dollars, like enacting cruelty for no straight profit motive.
I don't know. Do you have any examples?
What does Elon Musk spend his money on? He spends it on building a big family, but a lot of his money goes to supporting conservative causes around the world. He's going way out of his way to persecute trans people across the world for no other reason other than to...
But he doesn't push the anti-trans stuff, right? He's just all about deregulation.
I mean, J.K. Rowling's a billionaire and she does.
Yeah, she does.
That's just a hobby for her. She actively loses money. She could have exponentially increased her wealth.
Yeah, but she's not doing that because of capitalism, right? She's doing that because that's what her crusade is.
Elon Musk is the anti-trans crusader.
Is
he spends a lot of
it's personal for him, right? Because he has a kid
very
who turned
personal.
out trans and hates him.
Yeah.
So actually, I had this interesting thought actually about Elon this week, which is, so both of us read the same series and decided we want society to look like that, and we're doing it in completely different ways. And I think that the people in the society he's trying to build would hate him and think he's a monster.
Can you
talking about
review for the audience?
Yeah, the culture. Yeah. It's a series of sci-fi novels taking place in a post-scarcity far future. The phrase "fully automated gay space luxury communism" is basically coined about the culture.
Yeah.
Well, not to make an allegory to another sci-fi, but some guys think they're Picard, but they're actually Palpatine.
Yeah. I think drugs have fried his brain, and he's just he's lost his way at this point. He still thinks that he is working towards it. Basically, it's just all these pesky regulations are getting in the way.
But he's already so fried that, he's divorced from reality. He could go in, he could be given a government department. He can go take the funding away from food programs around the world at the cost of the lives of 200,000 children worldwide or whatever the estimate is these days, and then come away from that experience and thinking like, yeah, we really took down the corruption within the government.
I think if Elon were looking at two buttons and one of them was like turn society into the culture and the other one is everyone keeps suffering at the current hellscape, like he would push the button to send everyone to the culture, I think. Like, I don't think he wants it to be like the way it is right now.
That's fair. I think most people are decent and they want the world to be a better place. It's just everyone's got their own path or own vision kind of for it, or they just prioritize they say, oh, I want to make the world a better place. But if it comes between a good choice for them and a good choice for the world, they just will usually pick themselves and the people they know about.
I don't think that the people at the top of our system are decent people. I think they are the people who have picked themselves the most over other people and were rewarded with luxury and riches.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, but for example, like if Donald Trump were given that same choice between the two buttons, I do think he might actually choose the keep current hellscape button because he likes it this way. But that wouldn't shock me. He seems pretty malicious. He's thinking about Rosie O'Donnell having to suffer, and he's like, fuck yeah. Rock hard, pushing that button.
I mean,
he's threatening the nuclear annihilation of Iran, and then literal minutes later, he's roasting Bruce Springsteen on Twitter or whatever.
I mean, to be fair, it might not be as malicious as you think, just because it's like, for anybody, has anyone ever lived a better, 2 years than, is anyone having more fun? Like, he's getting kind of,
Do you think he's having fun, dude? I don't think he's having fun anymore.
I think he's enjoying it more than just, sitting in a boardroom doing nothing,
But that's not what he was doing, dude. He's just always been an idle rich guy, like playing golf and
Did you see,
banging little kids, all the horrible shit you do as a billionaire.
But now he gets to threaten Iran and people have to pay attention to him. Before he could threaten Iran and everybody would be like, well, how big is he going to tip? How much do I have to listen to? Now I think his ego is so big that if he says something and all the world leaders have to pay attention, I think he'd do whatever he could to preserve that status quo.
I guess so, but there's a very recent news story. Trump made an executive order or something loading psilocybin mushrooms and
I saw that. This is
what was
Joe
Ibogaine?
Rogan comes through big for the little people.
I guess so. Anyways, but when he was commenting at the desk or whatever for the photo op, he's like, yeah, they say they can be used for depression. I was like, can I have some? I'll try anything at this point. I was like, I think he maybe isn't having fun. He might actually be feeling, I don't know, guilty isn't the right word, but stressed. Stressed. Yeah. Certainly stressed.
Okay. Everybody's paying attention to him now. Nobody would have cared about Epstein if Trump wasn't president.
Well, if he didn't want to be president, I think two things he could have done.
Yeah, so many things, dude. So many things.
It's interesting, to think that this was a fucking possible spy, rampant child sex predator involved with so many famous people. Would it still be a big deal if one of his clients didn't become president? I think it would still be a big deal.
No way.
Right?
All the shit was in public back in the past and nobody cared, dude, right?
But Bill Gates is on that list and he was president.
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton was on that list as well.
I mean, it's easy.
Sorry,
Bill
Clinton was on the list, but he wasn't president.
Right. Bill Gates is not president. Well, that's what you think. Wake up, sheeple. That's just the Fauci vaccine messing with your mind.
Fine.
Yeah, see, there's some more dumb shit about capitalism, dude. The anti-vax thing. Some guy wants to sell his own vaccine, so he makes up a fake paper about how the regular vaccine is harmful. And, yada, yada, yada. Here we are 20 years later. He's disgraced, and yet measles is back. Because it just kind of took on a life of its own because each of these individual people is able to make money off of it. Fuck. All right. Do we have any other good examples of human suffering caused by capitalism that we should bring up? I'm sure we're missing some really bad ones because there's just so many, but
colonialism at all, just like the scramble for Africa, the British Raj.
To be fair, imperialism has existed even before capitalism. But
right, but I mean they're pretty intertwined.
No, totally, absolutely. The way it played out was very heavily influenced by and the motivation.
The examples I'm giving are of company efforts to go into countries and extract the resources and chop off the hands of the populace or whatever.
There's a reason Haiti's black. The natives were not black. We got a lot of sugar from those countries, or the world did.
All right.
Brazil. was like the biggest importer of slaves from Africa.
All right, you ready for the number one?
Number one.
All
Let's
right,
go.
the number one worst thing about capitalism, even worse than human suffering, it's environmental destruction.
Mm.
I put this at the worst because so even if we just switched away from capitalism tomorrow, everybody all at once, we all agreed. And so all of the human suffering problems from capitalism being current going would be fixed. But the environmental destruction will be causing human suffering for decades or centuries or possibly even millennia to come. It's just getting worse and worse, and we can't seem to put a stop to it because of capitalism. It's very unprofitable to pay more for energy. And so here we are because coal
Okay.
and natural gas are cheap.
If in this realistic scenario you've laid out where everyone decides that capitalism is wrong and switch to fully automated luxury gay-based communism, in this very realistic scenario, we would have different tools at our disposal for dealing with the fallout of the environmental degradation of the past 100 years.
I mean, just if everyone changes their mind tomorrow, we won't have like new technology, right?
Yeah, but we would have the resources of a new like super state, essentially, to throw behind
But even that
this.
might
Like,
not be enough. It might not be fixable.
I mean, just because something isn't fixable doesn't mean it's worse. I think a decent example there is like you go anywhere in England, and England's known for its rolling green hills and all that, and shepherds, and that wasn't England. England was forest, and all the trees got chopped down. People, even if the environment changes in a severe way, that doesn't mean that it won't bounce back in some kind of fashion that people can still enjoy and be outside and have fun in.
yeah,
I
people are
mean, there's
resilient.
levels. I don't think it'll wipe people out, but if you told me that 100 years from now, the population is only 5% of what it is now,
Mm.
and they all live a relatively meager and bleak existence, I would not be very shocked.
I mean, what's it, the Fermi paradox? What's the one where there's like, why aren't there other aliens? And one of the reasons is because there are developmental hurdles. And like, how long can humanity survive nuclear weapons? Or is climate change the one that gets intelligent societies?
Could be.
If you're curious about this topic, check out the past InfoHazard episode about this very topic.
Linked here.
I think it's interesting that you put human suffering at 2 and environment at 1, because it's human suffering is it happens in the present. If someone is having a miserable life, but they have kids, their kids may not have the same miserable life. Where like the environment is like if all the forests in North America burn down over the next 40 years, that would suck. Like you can't, they're rolling back EPA regulations. It's like if you can't drink water except out of a bottle, was it at the old boomer trade? I drank water out of a hose. Like we could tell our kids we drink water out of a faucet.
We will be wistful for those days, not just casual about lead poisoning.
Yeah.
But the worst case scenarios are pretty rough, right? If the ocean acidifies enough that the creatures that live in it can make their little shells, then they all die, and the creatures that eat those die, and the whole food web collapses, and the only things that are alive are the things that people specifically keep alive, then it's going to look pretty rough.
I guess so. It's just that, like, at the end of the day, it might just be a philosophical thing because my concern with this would be it would lead to human suffering. So human suffering would be the ultimate concern there.
Yeah, no, totally. But that's my point is like, this is the worst part because it causes suffering now and in the future.
This is the future suffering. Okay.
Yeah. Whereas the part I was talking about was just like the human suffering caused now, as opposed to like.
But so I know capitalism accelerates it probably, but environmental destruction was still pretty common back in the day before capitalism. Trees were chopped, whatever people needed, they grabbed marble and quarries and stuff. It's not like today where the ancient Romans didn't just blast a mountain apart to like get at some iron, but
Only because they couldn't, though. They absolutely would have. You're right. The main reason we can't stop the environmental destruction is capitalism.
that's fair. Yeah, it's
So-
like what was it? When they were trying to take lead out of gasoline, it was one guy going up to Congress, and he had to prove that lead wasn't in the atmosphere before, and he had to like grab ice cores from Antarctica because Chevron, Shell, and like all the other gas corporations were like, "Oh yeah, lead. Yeah, that's not us." And it's like it took a smart guy a lot of effort, and it was just him. Yeah, lead was actually really bad, and the gas companies knew about it, and it was just. I think it was like what got me about that one was it was like 5 cents a gallon. That was what like the lead in the gasoline was saving. Not even like a 5% increase in cost. It was some ridiculously small amount, and they just like fought it tooth and nail. And because of
Like
that,
you-
they had like
you-
lead for 30 years.
Yeah, you can see stuff like this like all the time, right? Like cigarette companies downplaying lung cancer risks.
Yeah.
gasoline companies downplaying global warming, leaded gas. So, he had to do all this like proof for them to ban leaded gas, but in order for them to start, they didn't have to prove that it wasn't going to be harmful or anything, right? They're just like, oh, listen to how great that engine sounds. Oh boy, golly gee whiz. Here we go, turning everybody into serial killers by degrading the part of the brain that controls impulsivity.
Yep. Who cares about that? Gas is cheaper.
Well, if you don't worry about these, if you don't sweat the details, like the impulse control brain, if part of your brain is degraded, then I don't know, maybe there aren't so many worries. Maybe it was a better world, the lead poisoned world of our forefathers.
I mean, I would love to stop worrying.
Yeah, I mean, our future might look like Phoenix, Arizona, or Singapore. It's like, you want to go outside? Nope, it's 120 degrees and the concrete will melt your shoes.
You want to hear a really messed up fact that I learned while I was doing this research? Since 1960, in the mid-latitudes, which is like North America and Europe, like that area, there is 30 more days of summer than there was in 1960. So within like 3/4 of the average person's lifetime, we've added an extra month of summer. The climate is not supposed to change that fast.
I can feel it. Like in April, I'm like, oh, it's over 70. I'm warm. I don't want to wear a long sleeve t-shirt. I'm in Portland. In March, I think it hits 70s. I should not be in shorts and a t-shirt in March in this latitude. That is kind of creepy to me. Like, bluebird ski in March should not involve a bikini. That's all I'm saying. Not saying I saw that at Timberline, but I saw things close to that. And it's crazy to see like how warm it's got.
The other crazy fact I learned is since 1970, the population of insects has declined by 2/3. So like within the past 50 years, there's only 1/3 as many insects as there were. Yeah. If you're an older person listening to this, you can probably think back to your childhood and remember how many bugs would hit the windshield back then and compare it to now, and it's way less. I feel like I can almost already think of this, and I'm not that old.
I've done a 10-hour drive, and I think I remember like, way back in the day, it was when you went to the gas station, you hit your window, you washed it down. And now it's like there might be dirt on there, but I think I've done little drives from Oregon down to California and not hit one bug.
Yeah. Basically, it's really grim, and it's only getting worse, and we're only seemingly going backwards at stopping it. Recently, President Trump paid a company $1 billion to not build a wind farm. So some fiscal conservatism for all those fiscal conservatives.
Yeah, that might get in the way of all the coal plants that he wants to start back up. So you can't have an extra wind farms. Come on.
So I think it was a French company. They bought the lease on the offshore lease for the wind powered, and then they paid $1 billion for it. And then Trump was like, "No, here's $1 billion back." I don't know if that actually went through though, because I saw in my little blurb that my union's guys that were supposed to work on the wind farm might have gotten their jobs back. So I don't know if it went through, but I thought that was crazy. Like, just give $1 billion back to some so they don't build clean energy.
Like it's already paid for. Just let it happen.
Yeah.
But they all worship Ronald Reagan, and one of the first things he did was tear down the already built solar panels on the White House. So they love that shit. So if you thought my number one was really bad, leave a comment. If there was something else about capitalism that you think is worse, or if there's something else you think we should have covered, because there's a lot of bad things about capitalism.
Yeah, keep in mind, your example has to skirt around example number 2, which is human suffering. So you have to think of a good example that doesn't involve human suffering.
Exactly.
Maybe like animals suffering or something like that.
Yeah. But really, I feel like one of the worst things about capitalism is we just all sit around and let these horrible things happen. And I'm not saying you have to like stand up tomorrow and turn into Karl Marx or Che Guevara and overthrow the government or do something wacky. Like, you can do something small, eat less meat, cancel some of your subscriptions to these like horrible giant companies like Amazon, call your representative and try to encourage them to rein in corporate power and change climate laws. There's no tool for changing the government that we as voters do not possess. So let's start using those tools. We all think Congress does a bad job. They have like an 18% approval rating, but yesterday in Phil's episode, he pointed out in our last congressional election, we only had 52% turnout. Like, what the hell's going on? Like, how do you reconcile that shit? Like, if you're upset about Congress, fucking vote for different people. God damn, at least give it a try. Don't just give up. do something, even if it's small, and then leave a comment saying what you did so that everyone will know how great you are, and you'll feel good, and you'll do more good things, and people will see how good you feel doing more good things, and they'll do good things. And basically, the entire world will change because of what we just said here. So you're welcome. That's been another world-blasting episode of Info Hazard. Thanks for joining us. And tomorrow, tune in. Sam will delight your eyes and ears with a lovely episode about taxes. Everybody loves taxes.
It's that time of
see you
year.
tomorrow.